Welcome to the Hadden You Heard podcast, presented by Mako Media, where we will be having conversations with local business owners, getting an idea of who it is, helping build our community, what it is they have going on right now, and why it is they do what they do. On today's episode, Hadden You Heard, of Colleen Haddon from the Colleen Haddon Group, a local real estate team making waves with their fun social media videos tailored to community connections. Let's get to know a little more about Colleen Haddon and the Colleen Haddon Group today. Thanks for joining me, Colleen.
Thanks for having me on here.
Yeah,
I'm really excited to be here.
I appreciate you jumping on. As I just explained about the Colleen Haddon Group, just a little bit, but give the listeners a little more insight about your team and what you guys do.
So we are a real estate team serving South Jersey and also Philadelphia. But our brokerage is located in Morristown, New Jersey, but I live in Haddonfield and kind of do a lot of my work out of Haddonfield in my home office or at a lot of coffee shops. You'll see me around. So,
okay.
Yep.
Well, in 30 seconds or less, in a goofy manner, describe your business for me.
A goofy man. Like I am the definition of a goof. Have you seen my reels? Like it is. People, you can't take life too seriously, and especially in real estate, transactions can get very, very tense at times.
Yeah.
And so I will be as professional as I need to be, and a shark when I need to be a shark, and a negotiator when I need to be a negotiator. But you have to laugh too. Like there's just some things are just really funny in life, and so I feel like I leave every transaction with a couple inside jokes with every client, like things that happen throughout the transaction that we'll still like joke around about years later. So it's yeah.
Business can't be too serious.
You have to have fun. You have to have fun.
Adults can't be always,
right.
very strict and everything.
Exactly.
So.
I'm a former middle school teacher. Like you can't take yourself seriously.
Exactly,
you have to keep the sarcasm and everything going. So,
well, before we jump in about more of your fun, awesome reels that you do around town, let's go back to the beginning.
Okay.
How did Colleen Haddon get the perfect name to live in Haddonfield? And how did Colleen, where did you start and how did you get into real estate?
So I'm from Morristown, New Jersey originally, so not too far away.
Okay.
And I essentially got into teaching. So after college, moved to Philadelphia quickly, then back to Haddonfield. And I was a middle school teacher for almost 9 years in Haddonfield. Wow. And it was, those days were some of the best days of my life. Like it was great. I loved teaching. I loved that age group, mainly because of like my goofy personality. Like you have to, little ones, like, I give elementary school teachers so much credit because I am just like, they have to keep their attention all the time and always be like in this like sing-song voice. Well, I'm sarcastic and I love middle schoolers because they get it. And it's, like they're still like, they're at that age where like you can joke around with them and they know you're joking. They're not like, was she serious? Was she serious? Was she not? So I loved teaching middle school. Mm-hmm. I also coached soccer at Haddonfield Memorial High School. So I was there for a little while. And then we ended up moving to Tokyo, Japan for my husband's job. So at the time I had 2 boys. Lived in Tokyo for like 2.5 years and then moved to Charlotte, North Carolina quickly and then moved back to Haddonfield and then moved again to another spot in Haddonfield. So I've done 7 moves in 11 years.
Oh my goodness.
Which is actually essentially what got me into real estate. So, when you start doing something over and over again, you're like, you know what?
I think I could
right. Yep.
See this as a career
exactly.
choice.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, talking about that, jumping into real estate, what do you find kind of drew you in, obviously, besides jumping house to house? But there was something that pulled you in for sure.
Honestly, it was... So when we first moved to Tokyo, it was the realtors. And that's exactly... So when we first moved to Tokyo, our agent... I had no idea. It was like someone put me on Mars. I couldn't read the signs. I couldn't speak the language yet. Like I only know enough Japanese to kind of like get around in taxis or order at restaurants. But I didn't know any of the language. I couldn't read the signs. You could have put a blindfold on me and like spun me around 15 times and I was in the same spot and I would have thought I was in like a new location. So like that's how much I really knew about the area. So we had to rely heavily on our agent. He took us to like 15 places in one day and we were jet lagged. We had 2 toddlers. And essentially I looked at him and I was like, I just need to be walking distance to my kid's school or biking distance. I need to be near somewhere where I can get groceries and some market and near some type of park that I can have the kids run around in. Just like, that's what I need. And I relied so heavily on him. He found us the perfect place. And I loved where we lived there. And then when we ended up moving to Charlotte, I had never been to Charlotte, and neither had my husband. We flew in, had the most fantastic realtor. Shout out to Missy. She was amazing. And she met us and took us around, gave us a tour of the area. And then like when closing ended, we ended up buying our house sight unseen there. And this is like end of 2018, before like, FaceTime tours are a thing.
Yeah.
Because when we went to Charlotte that weekend, like the house that we ended up buying was not on the market. So we would sit in our apartment at like midnight Tokyo time, and she would FaceTime us through a house.
Oh, wow.
And we ended up buying it sight unseen, which was a big deal at the time because no one really, this is pre-pandemic. So I've done that for a lot of people now, but it wasn't like the thing then.
Yeah.
And then I just remember like, so we bought our house, really trusted her. Like you have to put a lot of trust in someone that to say this is the house for you, and when we're, across the world.
Yeah.
And then it was like closing happened, and I was used to like, all right, you close on your house and you don't hear from your agent ever again. Mm-hmm. She was like my guide, like, hey, where do I sign the boys up for basketball? Like, when does school start? What school should I be looking at? What doctor should I go to? Anything I needed, she was there for. And to me, it was like, that's what I want to be for someone, like just being able to like help them. And so that was kind of like what drew me to wanting to be in real estate.
The pieces are coming together for me. I'm seeing her as like a mentor
for sure
for you for sure.
She didn't even realize she was being a mentor. And
I can see how you've created your brand now, about the community connection with your business and going around with the social media, all the reels and stuff, and the fun stuff you're doing with real estate. I can see where the pieces came from, the little trail bits or whatever you want to call it. But how did you kind of like land and be like, you know what, the reels, I want to make this fun. I want to do the community connection. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Right.
And what other things you guys do for the community.
So like I started with reels more. So no matter what, I'm always going to be an educator, right? Like it's in my blood. And so I found reels as a way to like educate people about the real estate process in a fun way. And so I kind of started with those like early 2020. And that was what I was really excited about. Yeah. And then everything kind of came together with like the community connections, because I really pride myself on helping people get a good understanding of like the neighborhoods and the areas that they're looking at. I have failed if I have sold my client a house in a neighborhood that they just doesn't fit their needs. So I want them to experience all the different areas and make their decision for them, like what works for them. But how can you do that if you've never stepped foot in South Jersey and don't really know the area? Mm-hmm. So there's like certain things that I do that, again, I have picked up from my life experiences of moving. That's really important to me. Like I will always meet clients that don't know the area, and I'll do town tours. Yeah. They get in my car, we drive around. We don't even get out and look at houses yet. Like it's like, here's landmarks, here's some local attractions, here's restaurants, here's stores. Like not everybody wants to walk to downtown, but maybe some, and so it's like, here's a town where you can get in your car and drive to a park. Here's a town where you can walk up and get your cup of coffee in the morning. Yeah. And so like I always kind of start there. And so then from there, I have worked actually tirelessly on my welcome guide. So it's something that I give to clients, and it's a curated list of everything from my favorite restaurants. It's very food heavy because I love food.
Well,
so
let's be honest, there's lots of food here. And I can't wait to bring the food people on the podcast.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hopefully they bring food for me.
Exactly. Some sampling. That's a good idea. Yeah. There you go. Bring me to that. Can I come to that one?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Live studio audience.
Exactly. So like restaurants, contractors, designers, organizers, like any like doctors. It's like a 30-page Colleen guide of like awesome. What is that of like vetted and curated recommendations. So it's because it's like you're also buying the town, you're buying the area. And so I started to like really a couple years ago, I was like, small businesses. I saw a sign actually at Occasionette. Yeah. And it was like small businesses. It was something about like small businesses are what makes your town home. Yeah. And I was like, that just really like struck a chord with me, because there are, people are just, real estate is hyper local, right? Mm-hmm. And so having an expert of just being able to tell like what businesses to go to for this or that, so I made a concerted effort to make relationships with a lot of these business owners. Yeah. And some of them now are like great friends of mine.
Well, you can see it in the reels when you go into these businesses and you just seem like you're a part of their family, which is really fun. And, when someone's looking to buy a home in this area, they can see that connection. Was it nerve-wracking the first time you walked into one of these businesses like Occasionette? Like you said you were nervous to come on today.
Yes, right. Yeah.
Was it nerve-wracking going in? Because I do it too, walk into a place to be like, hey, do you want to be on a podcast?
Right.
You got to be like, hey, and sell it.
And start. So I kind of just started by just organically, like just shopping there and really getting to know, Kathy on home on Haddon in Haddonfield. I just developed, so her store used to be on Haddon Avenue and I used to live right there. When I had my first son, I was just like trying to get out of the house. It's like you're in the newborn phase and I was just trying to walk around. And I told her one day when she moved moved her store to Kings Highway. I went in one day and I was like, your old store on Haddon Avenue used to be like a beacon of light for me every day. Like I was a destination of somewhere to I'm just going to go walk to home on Haddon and aimlessly walk around the store when I was in those dark days of the newborn stage. Yeah. And it's just like organically making connections and they all kind of naturally happened. Yeah. And before I was just like, hey, do you want to, do you want to dance around in an elf costume with me? There were relationships established well before I ever asked anyone to be goofy with me.
How do you come up with the goofy ideas? Come on, it's
I don't know.
It's so refreshing to see it because every post you have is so different.
Right.
And I really like your before and after stuff with all your, construction that you're doing and remodeling.
Yes, yep.
Those are fun. And then, the outfits that you wear during Christmas and stuff. How do you come up with it?
It's just my it's me. I don't try to be anything else. And I guarantee there's probably people that look at it and they're like, look at this goofball wearing an elf costume. Oh my gosh. But I'm not gonna, again, social media people, I feel like sometimes just show the highlight reel, but yeah. And I've gotten my fair share of criticism and critique, but you just have to be like, okay, well,
there's always going to be people out there, but having your true, genuine personality come out really shows. I think people in town really accept it because it's genuine.
Thank you.
Nobody wants to see anybody kind of pretending around like that.
Right.
It's more fun. And then when you see Colleen out on the street, you're like, hey,
yes,
Colleen.
Yeah. There's the elf.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So but that's kind of where, and now it's expanded. So I really started 3 years ago with this Small Business Today giveaway where I would highlight local businesses, and then I started with Colleen's Community Connections, and I would go around and interview just different businesses and companies that someone might not have heard of before, or someone to come in and build raised beds garden beds in your house, or not in your house. Well, maybe an idea, but to build them outside. Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna come back to that. Just things that people may not have heard of before. Yeah. Hadden, you heard
exactly.
So I ended up. I loved that. And then it kind of, we moved. So the natural progression was, well, I'm going to be doing things to my house. I serve people, my clients have just bought a house or have bought a house a couple years ago and always ask me, 9 times out of 10, do you have an electrician? Do you have a plumber? I want to do this to my house. I want to do this. So why not highlight those people that I have worked with myself that I can say green light, use this person and I feel confident giving them that recommendation. Yeah. So it's just a way to highlight all, I want to be hyper local with everything. I try not to, if there's a plant, a pot on Amazon and there's one at Meraki Market, I'm going to go to Meraki Market and get it. And that's where I'm going to spend my money because that's my community.
It's your community. Yeah.
And then I'm going to highlight that so someone else can do the same thing. So
and then when someone's buying a home and they need some design for their place, you can recommend Meraki or other places.
Exactly. Yeah. Or home designers. Yeah. I work. Yeah. Yeah.
It all works like that. And I think, even with the Hadden You Heard experience, my whole goal is to give flowers to these small businesses because they deserve it.
Right.
It's their passion, their dream to run a small business and to be hyper local and support their community. So I really appreciate you jumping on with me because I think we connect on the same business level.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah.
So we talked about the reels a little bit. Do you have any kind of events as well that you put together besides the Colleen's Community Connection? That's a weekly.
Yes, I try. Okay. I'm not going to say it's always, but one of the goals of this year is to do a monthly in-person event.
Oh, cool.
And so I want to hit a couple buckets with that. One bucket being community, so getting community out, and then one being small businesses. So getting not like people into these small businesses and then highlighting any other small businesses I can. And then the third bucket I'll say is donations or something that can go along with helping our other community members in need. So for instance, in January, this will have already, happened, but in January, next weekend, we'll be having an event with Maxwell James, and they have been so generous with their percentages off. So if someone brings in a coat for our coat drive, like one coat, 10% off, two coats, 20% off, three or more coats, 30% off, which is amazing. Yeah. But it gets people, they're going to have like their new line of clothes out, gets people in the store. And then Cafe Lift in Haddonfield is going to do some little mini French toast bites, and we'll have a mimosa bar. So getting people in. And then in February 6th, it's a Sunday. In February, we're going to do an event at the Paper Trail in Haddonfield. And it's going to be a floral arrangement class led by the owner of Forget Me Not Flowers. She's a local business. It's unbelievable. She goes to weddings and the couple will donate their flowers. So like you think about all the flowers that go into a wedding and they're just thrown away at the end of the night. Yeah. She goes and collects them. And actually, Andrea from the Paper Trail, her fiance, Rich, goes and helps this company go and pick up all the flowers. Oh, wow. Okay. They pick them up. And then on Sunday mornings, they make little bedside bouquets and they bring them to senior, like assisted living facilities, hospitals, women's shelters. Just such an amazing company and what they do. And so and I would like to like kind of bring awareness and highlight what she does because she's always looking for volunteers to help her put together the arrangements on Sundays. So, and then they deliver them, all to all those local places. And it's just so, it's amazing. So amazing. It really is such a great idea and brings joy to someone that may not, have it otherwise. So she's going to be teaching a floral arrangement class. Okay. And then we're going to be doing donate any homemade Valentines. So like have your kids or make your own homemade Valentines, bring them. And then we're going to bring them to just different like senior care, assisted living facilities in the area for Valentine's Day to brighten up their day.
This is amazing.
So every month and then March, we're going to do a workout class with Bar 3 in Cherry Hill and have some local companies with juices. So my goal is every single month to kind of do a different event that brings people out and brings, highlights and brings awareness to these businesses.
Yeah, this is incredible. I would love to bring that owner of the company onto the show.
Yes.
Help spread awareness. Yes. That'd be amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so everybody listening can check out your social medias to see the dates for all these events to be a part of it.
Correct. Cool. So At Home with Kyle Had is my Instagram. And every event there'll be a promo video so that you can kind of see what it is and see the dates and information on it. So
awesome.
Yeah.
So Colleen, I just want to ask, what is your favorite part about your business?
Okay, my favorite part. So I have like a favorite moment part, but I also have like a transaction. Okay. But overall, I would say like if we're talking goals, I'm more of like a word setter, an intention setter. So I try to set a personal word, that's my intention, and a professional word, that's an intention for the year. Because some goals are great for like short-term things that you need to have, are under time constraints. But overall, I just really I like to pick words. So my word for the year for professional is impact. And I really what I see that as is like I want to make an impact on not only like the real estate profession, but I want to make an impact on every transaction. I want to make an impact on every client. I want them to feel like I added so much value to a transaction for them that they felt like I was educating them not only about what happens throughout an entire, buying or selling your home and the actual transaction, but I want to make an impact in terms of like, oh, she pointed out things that were wrong with the house or talked us out of it because of X, Y, or Z, and really was like looking out for our best interests. And we felt like she truly had our best interests in mind. She was always available for us. And I mean, like, I'm going to go on a little tangent, but something that's important to me is sometimes you're like a therapist for people. And I like that. Like, I feel like people will say to me like, oh, I'm so sorry, but I just want to talk to you about, but that's what I'm here for. And that's part of the job. Like that's where I feel like teachers and educators make the best realtors because you need to be flexible. You need to have, people skills and deal with different types of people. stay cool under pressure.
Yeah.
And I love when people feel like they can open up to me because that's what I'm there for. So like, I just want them to feel like I'm on their side in every aspect of the transaction. So like, that's how I would like to make an impact on, I want people to leave feeling like she really added so much value to that.
And it wasn't just about the sale.
Exactly.
Or,
or like, she just came in, opened the door and showed us around, and that was it. So, cause I mean, I am on that roller coaster with you. I am riding the highs and I am in the lows. Like it is, it's never my favorite part to have to call and say like, your offer wasn't accepted or so that, but again, it's like, I want everyone to feel that works with me, feel that like, wow, she was really there for everything and anything that we needed her for, as she was there. And post-closing too, like she not only gave me her welcome guide, but I texted her at midnight when my kid was sick and I didn't know where to bring him to the ER. And I guarantee if you text me at midnight on Tuesday, I'm probably still awake. So I'll respond, but that I add value and I'm impactful in that way. And then impactful in the community. So I really try hard to integrate myself in the community so much, and not just through like the things that we just talked about with like community connections, but I'm my elementary school's PTA president.
Oh, wow.
I sit on the board of the Haddonfield Japanese Exchange Program. And actually, I'm going to start teaching the classes starting in February once a week to Haddonfield high school students.
Oh, wow.
So it's a program where we send every other summer, either students come from Japan here for a couple weeks or we send students there. So I'm going to be, and again, my life experiences of living there, like it just kind of fit and teaching, it was like a perfect fit. But I'm always just trying to find ways to volunteer in the community. We just did Rally in the Alley was a big event that we did with for the high school auditorium. Okay. And so how am I like impacting our community? How am I just like giving of my time and myself and of my different attributes that I have that might help out in one way or the other? Like, how am I doing, how am I bettering our communities? Yeah. And so like so impact kind of spans across all of that, but that's kind of my word for my professional.
I love it. I love it. I can tell how much you care. Yeah. Your personality really shows through in your work as well. And the impact, you're making an impact already, Colleen.
I'm trying.
That's your word this year, but I feel like you've already been making impact. So,
well, that's what they say. The problem with goal setting is sometimes it was a podcast with Adam Grant, podcast on a podcast, Adam Grant and Emmanuel Acho, who used to be on the Eagles. And he was talking about how I was listening to it one day and he was talking about how his whole thing, and that's kind of why I switched from goal setting, but his whole advice was that you're achieving your goal is a punishment for setting it. And he talked about how like the mile, everyone said you could not run under 4 minutes. Right. And no one ever did it. But then the year that the person broke it, 10 other people broke it after that. So you said I'm making an impact, but like already, that's why I try not to set goals, because if that's all, if I was like, okay, made my impact done, like how much deeper can I go? How much further can I go? How much more of an impact can I make? So we're never done, right?
I dig it. I like that. Yeah. So you mentioned to me when you came in actually about someone who made an impact on you this morning.
Oh, yes.
Do you want to elaborate that a little bit?
So I have 3 boys ranging from 9 to 3, 9, 7, and 3. And my 7-year-old, he could tell I was like frazzled this morning. Yeah. And, I was nervous. I've never been on a podcast before. I've never been in everyone's like, oh, you're on video. That's different. Like you can, take multiple takes, do different things. Like it's different. So I was just feeling very nervous. And he stopped me and he was like, are you okay, mama? And I looked at him and I was like, yeah, but I tried to like put it back to him. And I was like, I'm feeling nervous. You know, when you get those butterflies before something in your life that you're nervous about, maybe a game or something, that's how mommy's feeling right now. And he like kind of walked away and I could tell he was like thinking. I ran back upstairs to grab something and I was getting ready to leave and I gave everyone like a hug to send them on their way. Yeah. And he like pulled away from the hug and he looked at me and he was like, he said, you can do anything, mama. And it was just like, I was like, that's it. That's all I need. It was like that was my moment, that all I needed for the next.
Yeah. I've ever heard. Oh my
You can do anything. So
you can do anything and you're doing everything right now.
Thank you. It feels like it. I'm trying, but,
before we wrap it up, let's talk a little bit about your awesome family that you're with.
Yes. Yeah.
What kind of TV shows do you guys sit down at the end and watch? What are you addicted to right now?
So it's terrible. Like I used to be like a reality TV watcher and The Bachelor, all of those. Yeah. I just like don't have time for it. I will say the last show that my husband and I probably like watched together was Ted Lasso, but that's like so my humor.
Everybody says that's the best show ever.
It is. It's the best show ever.
I need to watch it.
Yeah. But recently, like at nighttime, we've gotten into this routine of we're reading these like sports mystery books with the kids. So it's like it has become my favorite part of the day. Like instead of turning on the TV, the 5 of us like curl up in our bed and my husband reads because apparently he has a way more soothing voice than I do. I'm like very jarring, I guess. So he reads and we all have our spots. Then we lay and like most of the time they end up falling asleep and then we like carry them off to their bed. So that has become like our new routine instead of TV, which
that's cool. That's very cool.
So,
and one last question before we wrap it up. I always bring it up with my interviewees about music. For me, I have to get in the mode to go out in the day, interview, do some photos. I have a certain playlist I listen to, certain artists I listen to.
Okay.
Who's your go-to artist to get inspired for the day?
Oh.
And you kind of mentioned you had a different artist or songs that you like to do before you get on the dance floor as well.
Oh, that's a great question. Artist in general. I mean, I love Taylor Swift, but I don't want to be like, I would say my favorite song is Counting Crows, Mr. Jones.
Oh, okay.
So that is my favorite song. But if you want to get me on the dance floor, Hypnotized by Biggie Smalls. Like,
oh yeah,
it doesn't matter where I am, I will stop everything that I'm doing and I will dance.
That's awesome.
Really any like late 90s, early 2000s rap will probably get me on the dance floor. It's kind of my genre.
That's awesome.
So,
that's a great song
too. Yeah, exactly.
So I always ask my guests, what's the one phrase that you kind of could say you circle back to that you kind of live by on a daily basis?
I would say, and I teach this to my boys, so work hard, be kind, and stay humble. Live by that.
That's
like
amazing.
Always, and I it's like just in life in general. Like you never know what someone else is going through.
Yeah.
And I always tell the boys, like, I don't care what you come back with your grades, with how you're doing. I mean, obviously, I care. I want you to do well. But like, if your teacher comes up to me or someone comes up to me and is like, "Hey, look, he pointed out to me that this kid was crying in the classroom," like that to me is so much more important. Or like he noticed that no one was asking him to play. The best story, I'm sorry, I'm like bragging about my kids, but I love them. I had one of my son's teachers tell me last year that they always played tag at recess, and there was like 2 kids in the class that if they ended on tag, on being it when the teacher was calling everybody in, that like those kids would be really upset and it would just like mess their entire afternoon up. And like, it's not like they had the discussion that like this kid, he could see it and he picks it up and so she said there was a day where he was already in line and there was a kid who ended as it and he got out of line and ran and he goes, "Tag me." Like I'll like to essentially be the one that's it. And like, if I have taught my kids anything in life, like that's all I care about is that you are always looking out for others. So
that's the sweetest story. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I've got some cute kids, I promise. They're good boys.
They're going to grow up great. They got a great
I hope
great
so.
Parents
Thank
and
you.
somebody to look up, 2 people to look up to.
Yeah.
I want to also ask, who in your life would you say inspires you?
I'm going to, talk about the other person. I'm going to embarrass my husband. He's going to kill me for this, but like kill me. He's such an introvert. But I would say my role model and someone that inspires me every day is my husband. He is just like always my like moral compass with everything, but he is probably the hardest worker that you will ever meet. And like you go in a room and like I know it, like he's the smartest person in the room.
Wow.
But no one else would ever know because he never ever, like he has his blinders on and he has that attitude of just like nose to the grindstone, work your butt off, work hard and just keep going and keep your blinders on in the sense of like, he always tells me, he's like, don't compare yourself to others. Like you're just move forward, just keep doing what you're doing. Even if sometimes it feels like it's at a snail's pace, just keep moving. Like at least go in that direction. He will constantly be the person that I always go to like, oh, like I feel like I'm not doing this or I'm not doing that. And he's like, does it matter? Like stop comparing yourself to other people. And so I've just never met someone who is so humble and yet probably the smartest person and hardest worker that you'll ever meet in your entire life and loves challenges. Like I love that about him. Like he constantly is like, he loves something that's new and challenging. Whereas like I am like, keep me in my comfort zone. And he's always the one that's like, nope, I'm going to push you out of your comfort zone, whether you like it or not. But that's where you grow. Right. So,
oh my gosh.
So air this on like Valentine's Day. So it makes it seem like I'm, otherwise.
So he's super embarrassed.
He's super embarrassed and it's Valentine's Day. So the month of love.
Awesome,
yeah. He's great. Yeah.
Has he been on a podcast yet?
He has not. He was on a panel for something, but like not so probably
you got one up on him.
Yeah, I'll let him know. But he won't care because he doesn't compare himself to others. So
oh my gosh. Colleen, thank you so much for joining me. What would you like the listeners to leave today's episode with? Just if they could think back to today's episode, hearing what you had to say, when they think about Colleen Hadden and the Colleen Hadden group, what's the thing that you want to stick out in their minds?
I mean, everyone says that they care, right? But we really do care. And like the relationships are really, really important to us. And also like the privacy of it. Like I call it the HIPAA of real estate. Like I actually had a set of friends once that had no idea that I was working with either of them because I'm so,
oh, wow.
It's just, especially because a lot of times in this industry, I will work with friends.
Yeah.
And to me, it's so important that they feel like their privacy is protected, that their best interests are being, are being maintained throughout the process, and that they have someone to rely on and lean on through everything.
Yeah.
I tell my clients over and over again, like, I don't like your finances. That's for the lender to just, to talk. Then they give me a paper that says like, here's what, and we know what you want to, what you want to spend monthly. I don't know anything about that, and I don't want to know for that reason.
Right.
And I don't tell anybody who I'm working with for the, it's a monumental point in someone's lives when they're making the decision to buy or sell a home. And so it's like, to me, I like to serve the whole person and make them really know and understand that like I'm here to support you from. I'm not even going to say A to Z because I'm well beyond Z. So like that I'm here for everything, and I am focused, like our team. I'm not looking to build this like huge team, this mega team. I actually really like to keep my team small, and that's what I'm going to continue to do, because I want that feeling of just like you're working with people that like I have personally also vetted, that like I trust. And I currently have 2 teachers and my sister on my team and an operations manager. Like, and it's just all a bunch of like strong women that I'm surrounded by that are also doing the exact same thing. And that's very important. So it's like, we just really care about our clients' best interest. And I feel like people can feel it when they work with us, and they can just feel the difference and know that it's, you have someone that's in your corner that's crying with you when you're crying and, ready to like go out there and battle when we need to battle. And that's important.
I think they'll get that from today's interview for sure.
We'll see, right?
And congratulations on your awesome team.
Thank you.
Your business.
Thank you.
Nothing but success and impact going forward this year.
Thank you.
I appreciate
Significance.
I appreciate you jumping on today's show.
Thanks so much for having me, Doug. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Listeners, go on to Colleen's Instagram, all her social medias. Check out all the events coming up. And if you want, check out her reels because they're the best. And give her a shout out, anything if you need some real estate help.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining Hadden You Heard.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode with our special guest, Colleen Hadden of the Colleen Hadden Group. As I mentioned earlier, please check out all of her Instagrams for any events, all of her awesome reels. And if you're looking to buy a home, please reach out to her and connect. Catch us again next time with another special guest for season 2 of Hadden You Heard.